I am the gold-digging girlfriend in a story about a self-made man. The day my billionaire boyfriend's empire crashed, a voice in my head, a strange, snarky thing I later called the system, assigned me a mission: dump him and make it brutal.
So I did.
I left behind every diamond, every Birkin, every Cartier watch scattered across the cold marble floor of our penthouse. Then I looked him straight in the eye and said, "You're broke, and I don't date broke men." He rebuilt his fortune from the ashes, fueled by the rage of a man betrayed. Naturally, I assumed the story would end with him rich again and eager to crush me as payback. But instead, I woke up kidnapped and chained to a four-poster bed. This wasn't in the script. I called out to the system in a panic. Wait, wasn't I only supposed to dump Grant Donovan? What is this? The system's tone dripped with disdain. Dump him? Who told you to walk away with nothing but your clothes? You didn't just break his heart, genius. You turned yourself into his obsession. You're the ghost he can't stop chasing. Only then did I realize what I'd become: the shallow, money-hungry girlfriend in someone else's story. According to the narrative, my purpose was simple: be vain, dump Grant the moment he lost everything, and return years later to beg him for forgiveness once he'd rebuilt his empire. My ending? Total humiliation followed by a lonely, pathetic death. That seems excessive, I muttered after reading my supposed character arc. The system, assuming I was heartbroken over losing the hero, offered false comfort. Don't worry. Once you leave him, I'll wire 100 million into your account. A much better deal than playing house with a ruined man. But it misunderstood. It's not about the money, I whispered. I chase Grant. I fell for him first. Throwing him away just because he's broke, it feels wrong. Silence stretched between us. Then the system snapped, sounding offended. Yuri the gold digger. You don't get a conscience.
Oh.
Right, I said, nodding like an obedient fool. Pleased, the system's voice turned eager again. Perfect. When he gets home tonight, humiliate him. Tear him down. Make him beg you to stay. And no matter what he says, you'll walk out that door without looking back. Understood? I understand. It was 2 a.m. when the front door finally closed behind Grant. He looked exhausted, the kind of exhaustion that seeps into your bones. His bloodshot eyes flicked toward me, then away. He hadn't slept in days. His family's company had collapsed, and as CEO, he carried the shame alone. His throat worked, as if he wanted to speak but couldn't find the words. Now, the system hissed in my head. Slap him. Demand to know where he's been. Make a scene. That feels wrong. I hesitated. Grant had already lost everything. Even if I was supposed to dump him, he deserved at least a little dignity. $100 million? That number made an awfully convincing argument. I looked him in the eye, inhaled, and struck him across the face. The sharp crack echoed in the penthouse. My hand stung. His cheek flushed red. The sight made my throat tighten. Where have you been? I tried to sound furious, but the words trembled. Do you even care about me anymore? The anger collapsed halfway through, smothered by the raw despair in his eyes. For all his power, Grant Donovan had always been intimidating. Maybe that's why I'd chased him so recklessly. Suddenly afraid he might lash out, I threw my arms around him instead, clinging to him with shaking hands. My tears were real now. Do you know how scared I was? Sitting here alone waiting. The system's voice faltered. Ava, this isn't in the script. You're supposed to be shoving him toward his villain arc. I ignored it.
100
million.
Right.
The money. I pulled away, wiping my eyes, trying to find the cruelty the system wanted. But before I could speak, Grant pulled me back, hard. His embrace was desperate, suffocating. His whisper burned against my hair. Never. There are issues with the company, he murmured, pressing a soft kiss to my forehead. But I'll fix it. I always do. Then he reached for a shopping bag by the door. Say the line, Ava. Now the system screamed. You said you liked this brand, Grant said quietly. They just released a new color. I thought you'd. We need to break up. The bag slipped in his hand. His eyes widened, confusion giving way to pain. Why? I held his gaze, forcing my voice to stay even. Stop pretending. I know you're bankrupt. He froze, speechless. I walked through the penthouse, opening drawers and glass cases, pulling out every luxury he'd ever given me. Jewelry, handbags, everything. I piled them together, like a glittering grave. The life you can offer me now isn't the life I want. He swallowed hard. So, this is just because I lost my money? Yes. That single word shattered whatever was left between us. I picked up my suitcase and headed for the door. All of this. Grant's voice broke behind me. I don't want anything from you, I said coldly. It's all tainted. Ava, the system shrieked. I expected anger, but instead, it sounded delighted. You are, without question, my most brilliant student yet. The system rewarded my stellar performance by acquiring a sprawling villa for me in the city's most exclusive gated enclave. It practically radiated pride. I've worked with dozens of hosts, Ava, but none as obedient as you. You followed instructions to perfection. You earned this. As an extra, 10 million more appeared in my bank account. Then the system produced a digital clipboard. Phase 2, Ava. Your goal now. Crush any last shred of hope he clings to, channeling all that despair into his career. A chill ran down my spine. Wait, the mission isn't finished? Nope. The system's tone carried an almost human sigh. Who knew Grant Donovan had a romantic streak? Pathetic. Then it brightened, bouncing in the air like a tiny gleeful orb. But really, my host is a goddess. Of course the male lead would be obsessed. It went on praising me, but I barely heard it. I bit into a crisp apple, thinking of Grant Donovan. Logical, calculating, and utterly devoid of foolish romance. I remembered the botched kidnapping, when I'd been held for ransom. Grant hadn't flinched at the threats. Only the luck of undercover cops saved me from a headline-grabbing disaster. He had been with me because I pursued him relentlessly, not out of love. Any lingering feelings were bruised ego, nothing else. But so what? Now, my goal was simple, to become the one he could never forget. The memory that would haunt him like a phantom limb. The system informed me that Grant's next public appearance would be at a prestigious charity gala. Bankrupt, stripped of influence, and a shadow of his former self, he'd be an object of pity for those around him. My role? To be the predator, with the sharpest teeth. I embraced the task wholeheartedly. To reward my enthusiasm, the system deposited another 50 million into my account, earmarked for jewelry to wear that night. I nearly wept. System, you're too good to me. You'll be the most dazzling woman in the room. No exceptions. Apparently, the system had full confidence in me. It even rewrote the memories of the event's host, so I appeared as someone who had saved her life. This tweak landed me in a private box on the second floor, with a perfect view of the ballroom. Soon, I noticed a commotion near the entrance. Showtime, Ava. He's arrived. The system's nervous energy crackled in my head. Voices floated up. Has the standard for this gala dropped? Anyone off the street can attend now. The guy's bankrupt, yet he dares show his face? He can't even buy champagne. Laughter followed. Your cue, Ava. Make your entrance. The script called for me to descend the grand staircase and humiliate Grant so thoroughly he'd vanish from high society. I stepped out of the box, spotting him cornered by a group of men at the base. The ringleader, Leo Wyatt. Once a sycophantic hanger-on, he now took the first swing at a fallen man.
Well, well.
Look who's fallen to the janitorial level, Leo sneered at Grant. Then, spotting me, he gaped.
Oh.
Ava's here too. Did you come to polish silver? I stared, unimpressed. For a supposed villain, he was laughably blind. Millions of dollars of diamonds sparkled around my neck, yet he saw nothing. Grant's gaze shifted to me. Shock crossed his features, then vanished as he processed my gown, my jewels. I walked down the stairs, heels clicking against marble. Your breath smells, Leo. Trying to get kicked out again. Leo flushed. You're an orphan. Without Grant's money, you're nothing. Who do you think you are? One of his cronies puffed up. I could have both of you tossed out on the street with one word. I spotted a flash of crimson across the room.
Sloan.
He's bullying me. Thanks to the system, I was now officially part of the Sinclair family, Sloan Sinclair's adopted sister. Sloan arrived, frowning. What's happening here? The man who'd threatened me stammered. Cousin, these two were rude. Did I ask? Sloan's glare could freeze fire. Her eyes swept Leo Wyatt, and her frown deepened. And haven't I told you to stop dealing with trash? Miss Sinclair, Leo began, panic creeping in. I wasn't talking to you, Sloan said flatly. Leo paled. Sloan turned to her assistant. The Sinclair family isn't royalty, but we don't allow uninvited pests. But cousin, Arthur protested. I'm not your cousin, Sloan snapped. We're not close. If you can't follow my wishes, address me as Miss Sinclair.
Arthur pointed at me.
And her? Sloane glanced at me. I smiled softly. Because she is. Arthur looked like he'd been slapped. Before the gala swallowed Sloane again, she leaned close. Next time someone dares bully you, remember his name. I'll handle it. A shiver ran down Leo Wyatt's spine. As he tried to sneak away, Sloane's assistant intercepted him, polite but firm. Mr. Wyatt, may I see your invitation? Leo's face drained of color. You think I snuck in? The assistant simply nodded. Sloane gave me a few more hurried instructions before disappearing into the sea of guests. The grand stage that had been set up for my public humiliation was now deserted, leaving only two people beneath the bright lights, Grant and me. The system hovered nearby, buzzing in obvious confusion as it tried to make sense of the situation. Its diagnostics must have been going haywire. Host, it asked hesitantly, where are you supposed to, embarrass the male lead? Even without an audience, the scene had to be completed. The mission was simple, make him give up on me for good. But before I could deliver my lines, Grant beat me to it. His voice was low, edged with something sharp. I'm not a janitor. Did he really think I was that shallow?
Okay.
Maybe I was. I lifted my chin, taking on the role like a professional actress. And what exactly is someone like you doing here? I asked coolly. Wow, host, that was perfect. The system instantly forgot its confusion, surrounded by virtual pink hearts of approval. I gave it a tiny gesture to settle down, then reached into my clutch and pulled out a black card. Grant didn't move to take it. Host, why are you giving him money? The system panicked. This will only make him cling to you harder. It's not kindness, I replied smoothly. It's strategy. A humiliation tactic.
Oh, right.
Totally makes sense. It nodded with full confidence and no understanding whatsoever. Grant's gaze flicked from the card to my face. Ava, are you really looking down on me that much? Do you think I'm so pitiful that I need your charity? There was a raw edge to his voice that made even the system flinch and hide behind my shoulder. No, I said softly. To me, you were always invincible. The words sounded cruel in context. If he were truly invincible, his company wouldn't have collapsed. I wouldn't have walked away. He looked like he wanted to argue, but I spoke again, my words barely audible over the faint music from the ballroom. I just wanted to help you. He inhaled sharply. He began carefully, as if testing the air between us, if I earned it all back, every cent, would you come back to me?
Men.
Always the same. When you love them, they act like they couldn't care less. Once you leave, regret hits them like a freight train. But I couldn't say that out loud. Not when my mission was to become his untouchable ghost. My nails dug into my palm until I felt the sting of pain. No, I whispered. I hesitated, as if the truth was too heavy to speak, then let my voice fall. A woman like me could never deserve you. Grant never took the card. Back in my 8,000 square foot villa, I was sobbing so hard it felt theatrical. System, do you think he really doesn't love me anymore? Host, don't think of it that way. You lost a man, but gained a fortune. I tilted my tablet so the system could see the open webpage. How to comfort a grieving woman. The #1 suggestion, in bold, throw money at the problem. The system considered this deeply. Host, I know money can't buy happiness, but it's all I've got. 10 million transferred to your account. I don't want money, I cried, turning my face away dramatically. I want love. 50 million. Grant may be gone, but I'll be fine, I said through trembling lips. I'll pull myself together. Maybe start sponsoring a few male models. The system sighed with relief, happy to see I was recovering. Then it noticed what I was writing on a sheet of paper. Host, wait, you have cancer? It scanned me instantly. No, your vitals are perfect. Did my diagnostics glitch? I looked up from the note. Can you forge a terminal illness for me? Why would you need that? To become the tragic, unforgettable woman he'll never get over. I spoke the next part solemnly. Besides, if he wants revenge later, I won't be able to defend myself. It's safer if he pities me. That part wasn't even a lie. In stories like his, the fallen hero always returns to destroy those who abandoned him, and I was top of that list. But that's why I made you the Sinclair's lost daughter, the system chirped. Yuri, their real heiress. Excuse me, what? This was beyond cliché. So Sloane Sinclair is actually my sister? Exactly. The system nodded. You think just any random orphan gets to date a male lead? Wow, I muttered. That's encouraging. Still, since it had already handed me $100 million, I decided to let its rudeness slide. As the chosen one, everyone in the male lead's orbit has a remarkable background. You included. I frowned. Does this mean I inherit some of the Sinclair fortune? Sort of. You'll inherit their 9-figure debt. Then the creditors will hunt you down and… Okay, stop. Can I decline the inheritance? Nope. The system smiled sweetly. It's part of the plot. You're supposed to die beautifully while the male lead watches and says his legendary line. What line? Never underestimate a man with nothing to lose. I stared blankly.
Grant?
A man with nothing to lose? Even bankrupt, he still had the jewelry and assets I left behind. He wasn't poor. I was. Trying not to cry, I mailed the black card to him with a handwritten note. If I hadn't gotten sick, I think we would have been married by now. My only regret is not being by your side when you needed me most. If there's another life, I hope we meet again. It was my best attempt at survival through sentimentality. Once the courier left, I exhaled. The system, mistaking my composure for courage, tried to cheer me up. Host, the male lead won't reach peak power for 3 years. How about a vacation while we wait? I'm not in the mood. I gazed out the window, letting a single perfect tear roll down my cheek. Nothing feels worth it anymore. Don't lose hope. Or it urged. Once the mission ends, you can fake your death and escape. But I've already lost the only man I'll ever love, I whispered. I just want peace. Maybe I'll buy a private island. I'll buy it for you, the system announced, eager to help. Will that make you feel better? I gave a soft, melancholic smile. Maybe. Just a little. I still don't know what kind of budget the universe had set aside for the system, but over the course of the year, I somehow managed to collect, okay, more like scam, several $100 million from it. Way beyond the original $100 million reward. The system sensed something odd about my methods but could never quite pin it down. Eventually, it shrugged and assumed I was just unusually clever. I was reclining on a sun-soaked beach chair, sunglasses shielding my eyes as I tracked the graceful flight of seagulls over the turquoise water. Blissful, tranquil, perfect. Until one gull started getting bigger, louder, and suspiciously loud, like rotor blades. A helicopter touched down on my private stretch of sand. The system immediately perked up. I'm detecting a very strong alpha presence, it noted, awestruck. What is it? I asked. Only Sloane and my estranged birth father knew the coordinates of this island. Sloane wasn't coming, and my dad didn't care about me. Then the system practically screamed in my head. Are you an AVA? It's the male lead.
Oh.
Crap. The plan was supposed to take 3 years. I had imagined the final act, feigning a relapse, lying pale and fragile in my villa. Grant would find me on my deathbed and feel nothing but compassion. Not now, not here, sipping a piña colada like a bronzed goddess of leisure. I was completely exposed. And, of course, Grant did what any obsessive billionaire ex would do. He kidnapped me. When I regained consciousness, I was in a luxurious bedroom, my wrists bound to the bedposts with soft silk scarves. I flailed mentally, trying to signal the system to manipulate my vitals and fake some life-threatening illness. It appeared beside me, voice trembling. I'm so sorry, host. My energy reserves are gone. Also, the male lead terrifies me right now, so I'm out. Good luck.
Ha.
Scared? Try me. I couldn't yell. The years of experience with Grant had given me a sixth sense. He was watching always. The system blinked out, leaving me alone. I bowed my head, letting vulnerable, broken sobs fill the room. 3, 2, 1. The door clicked. Grant strode in, Azir's sharp edges carving his face into something dangerous and intimidating. His eyes locked on me, a weight that pinned me to the bed. He crossed to me, gripped my chin, forcing my gaze upward. 2 crystalline tears slid down my cheeks. They seemed to sting him physically. His hand tightened. His voice was a cold snarl. You wanted to leave. Why are you crying now? Or, do you regret it? His question wasn't really a question. He knew. A woman like you, obsessed with money, could sob until your eyes bled, and it wouldn't matter to me. Can I go? I asked softly. He didn't answer. Bad move. You have 2 choices, he said, I see. Option 1, reconcile, and we pretend none of this ever happened. Option 2, the Sinclairs go bankrupt, and you'll have to come back to me. One was voluntary, the other forced. I was about to pick the first option when the system returned in a panic. Host. The mission. Don't forget. I considered a third possibility. The Sinclairs don't go bankrupt, and I'm still coerced into being with him. Grant chuckled, chillingly. Option 3. They go bankrupt, and you work as a maid in my house forever to pay off their debt.
Wait, what?
A year apart, and he developed unusual fantasies. Still, compared to the alternatives, it seemed manageable. My voice trembled. Okay. I convinced myself this was a power move. He wouldn't actually make me scrub floors. Right? I was very, very wrong. Mornings. Up at 5 to water the gardens. Afternoons. Delivering lunch to his downtown office myself. Evenings. Waiting for his last conference call to finish, carrying warm milk and murmuring, "Good night, Mr. Donovan." I worked harder than a draft horse. Grant treated me like an appliance, not a person. The system, however, was thrilled and a little sympathetic. Host, once you finish this mission, I'll make sure the main server adds another 0 to your reward. $1 billion. I shoved aside any thought of surrendering to Grant's twisted little games. That night, I carried a glass of warm milk to his bedroom.
Come in, he called.
I opened the door and froze. Towel low around his hips, wet hair dripping down defined muscles, droplets tracing the planes of his chest. System, is he trying to seduce me? I muttered. Impossible. It responded. He has self-respect. You dumped him. No way he'd do that. I handed him the milk. He drank it in one gulp, barely glancing at me. Clear message received. Later that night, I woke to a heavy weight pressing down. Grant was over me, breathing hard. Damn it, Ava. What did you put in my milk? He rasped. Just milk, I stammered. I had poured it straight from a sealed carton. Liar, he growled, nipping my earlobe before starting a slow, excruciating assault that made me flinch instinctively. You started this fire, he whispered. Now you have to put it out. I'm a grown woman. I knew exactly what that meant. And my last thought before being completely consumed? It was just whole milk. I woke alone, immediately scanning for the system. Nothing. Relief washed over me. It hadn't seen. I nudged Grant, still asleep. Get out. He blinked, expression unreadable.
Why?
Are you hiding someone else?
Nope.
Just a floating, judgmental orb. Focusing on the mission and my billion-dollar prize, I adopted a firm tone. You thought I drugged your milk. I didn't. Go check the carton yourself. He stared silently, then let out a short, contemptuous huff, got dressed, and left without another word. The moment the door clicked, the system shot out of the closet. Its light pulsed with pure, unadulterated rage. I dropped to my knees, hands raised in surrender. He seduced me. It was all him. The system hovered, frozen. Then it spoke, each word like ice. Dump him? Who gave you permission to leave with only your dignity? You didn't just break his heart, Ava. You became his obsession. The goddess he idolizes. The good news, I had officially become Grant's unforgettable, untouchable fantasy. The bad news, my billion-dollar payout was evaporating fast. The immediate crisis, however, was the system, which had devolved into a miniature, hyper-emotional ticking bomb. I must have been delusional. I actually thought you were the most obedient host ever. You knew I was easy to manipulate, and yet you exploited me completely. If I hadn't heard the male lead whispering your name all night, I'd still be clueless. You're a liar, Ava. A master manipulator. Worst.
Host.
Ever. I hate you. Wah. It flopped onto the plush carpet, digging itself a tiny hole to wallow in despair. All my years as a system and a human outwits me. My existence is meaningless. I want to die. Even I felt a tiny twinge of guilt. I grabbed a decorative shovel from the fireplace, gently scooped some dust bunnies onto it, and said, "Relax. When you're gone, I'll commission a massive, outrageously expensive monument in your honor." The system shot upright, incredulous. You were going to bury me? I nodded solemnly. You said you wanted to die. I knelt, brushing dust off its spherical body. Look, your mission was to make me leave Grant so he could focus and improve himself, right? In a way, the mission succeeded. The Sinclairs haven't gone bankrupt yet. They're on their way. Mismanagement had left the Sinclair Corporation teetering. Grant's partnership deal with them had been temporary, just a way to find me. And your own downfall, ending in tragedy, hasn't happened, Whit said gloomily. Want me to act it out tonight? I offered.
Uh,
Speechless. Finally, it shrieked, frustrated. What's wrong with the male lead? How could he fall for someone so materialistic like you? Not exactly what it had been saying a year ago. Before I could argue, the system zipped around me, hardening with smug satisfaction. Congrats, Ava. Your $1 billion is officially gone. My heart clenched. Before I could react, it added. And you think the male lead is a saint? What? I asked. It didn't explain. Instead, it hovered, smirking. Oh, I'm sticking around. I want a front row seat to see him chew you up and spit you out. The system's ominous parting left me unsettled. I spent the day analyzing Grant's behavior. If the milk wasn't drugged, then he had come to me of his own volition.
but why?
Had the fantasy memory lost its allure? Had the untouchable saint become just another man? Or was this some elaborate revenge game? That evening, I set the dinner table while Grant poured himself a glass of water. Before he could speak, I preemptively warned him. I checked. The water's not drugged. He sipped, choked, and spluttered. I jumped back instinctively. That wasn't me. Ava, he rasped, catching his breath, voice carrying a wounded undertone. Are you made of wood? The system, beside me, nodded enthusiastically. I took offense. Fine, Grant said, wiping his mouth. Let's talk business. He pulled a folder from his briefcase, placing it on the table. Marry me, he said, and I'll give you a $5 million monthly allowance. The system hissed derisively. Cheapskate. I was going to give my host $1 billion to... Right, I muttered, feeling targeted. Grant continued, you'll also hold 50% of the company stock. Annual dividends should total hundreds of millions at minimum. I froze. 50%? Hundreds of millions? The system recoiled, scandalized by my apparent greed. You think you can buy love with money? My host is not that. I didn't wait. I clasped Grant's hand with both of mine. I do, I said fervently. A slow, triumphant smile spread across his face. I do, too. And just like that, the only unhappy entity in the villa was the system. It muttered to itself, baffled. I don't get it. She lied, humiliated him, faked death, and he's not angry? Never taking another romance world mission. These male leads are like wilted lettuce. As it ranted, Grant approached across the lawn. The system zipped to my ear. Host, you don't even know. That milk? Never drugged. It was all him. It froze mid-sentence. Grant's hand closed around it, trapping the tiny light ball in his fist. Calm and deadly, he said. It was all me what? The system went rigid, forced to admit defeat. All because the male lead loves his host so much. I realized my flattery was redundant. Grant opened his hand. The system shot off like a bullet. Sitting beside me on the porch swing, I finally asked, when did you see it? From the beginning, he said, sliding an arm around my shoulders like a parent soothing a child. It was trying to break us up. You knew the entire time? I knew you had to leave, he admitted softly. I had lost everything. I made too many enemies. You had to be far from me to be safe. Stunned. So you knew all along? Yes, he said, calm. And the fake cancer? Not at first. That's why I worked like a madman, terrified I wouldn't recover the money in time. Later, when I saw you on the island, healthy and vibrant, I checked your records. That's when I knew you'd tricked me. And you weren't angry? I was furious, he admitted. But I was also relieved. The moment I thought you were sick, I'd already lost everything that mattered. The rest was just noise.